Should you play Symbaroum? Is it worth a try, and is it a suitable replacement for your primary TTRPG? I'll share with you some of the pros and cons of this system, and hopefully by the end of the video, you'll have your own answer. But before we begin, just a few quick notes on my approach. First, this is primarily made for and made by someone moving from 5e D&D to Symbaroum. I recognize that there are a ton of great TTRPGs out there, but the big dog in the park is the world's greatest role-playing game, so it makes sense to frame my perspective relative to 5e. Second, this is an inherently judgmental method, but these declarations are not set in stone. I tend to see things on a spectrum rather than declaring thing good or thing bad. Some of the things I point out as pros for me may be cons for you, and that's fine. Take this list with a grain of salt. Finally, I am just one guy on the internet. I hope that by bringing up this topic, you can find helpful answers for your group, but the real true sight comes from comments and discussion. I hope to hear from Symbaroum veterans what points they would confirm or correct, and I hope you can leave your own questions about the game. With all that out of the way, let's go. First off, let's look at the game as a product. Free League is a fine publisher with plenty of good games, and Symbaroum is no exception. The Symbaroum core rulebook offers you starting lore, character creation, game rules, a game master's guide, a small adventure, and a monster manual, all for one $50 book, compared to the $150 core books package of D&D. In general, the Symbaroum core books are pretty fantastic, and the evocative art by Martin Bergstrom sells the unique dark fantasy world. As you read the core rulebook, you'll get to know the setting of wild Davokar and noble Ambria, the ancient ruins of the lost empire of Symbaroum. This is a meaningful setting with plenty to explore, further deepened by the factions of barbarians, elves, various magical societies, and noble houses who are all competing to get the upper hand in an age of exploration. While the world of Symbaroum is fantastic, it is also hard to separate from the game. Many RPG players and especially D&D enjoyers want to make their own fantasy worlds, and Symbaroum makes this difficult with how well the setting is intertwined with its rules. I am not a game master who likes to run pre-written adventure modules, but I can respect that a lot of people prefer this method of play. The Symbaroum campaign books on the whole have great reviews and seem well regarded, and while Symbaroum's publishers keep the game's core rules and expansions pretty tight, they continue to publish more adventure modules that expand on the canon story and lore of the world. That lore is a problem in itself, though. If you want to fully engage with the history and world building of Symbaroum, you're not going to get very much outside of the campaign books. This creates a barrier to entry to the game's deeper setting and themes. Delving into the actual rules of the game, Symbaroum is very approachable and considerably easier than 5e. There are 8 core attributes rather than D&D's classic 6 abilities, but there are no saving throws or skills or proficiencies to keep track of. Every roll you make has to do with these 8 numbers in a player-facing system. I hesitate to call Symbaroum rules light, but the rules are simple. One particular quality of life improvement is the narrative movement. You simply state you are moving from point A to point B without the need of counting 5-foot squares. On the other hand, Symbaroum uses a roll under system, so rolling a nat 20 is actually bad news. This won't matter to new role players, but for 5e players, these backwards rolls and inverted modifiers will mess with your brain and take time to adapt to. It's a minor con, but it's still a con. Symbaroum's quick and gritty combat scenes deliver on danger and intensity. It's easy to make every fight feel consequential without slaving over challenge ratings and action economy calculations, and players feel like every turn matters in determining the outcome of the fight rather than slowly whittling down a damage sponge boss's hundreds of hit points. However, as a game master, you will have difficulty running Symbaroum's sparse monster stat blocks. D&D monsters tell you everything you need to know, but Symbaroum only gives you each ability by name, meaning you'll need to cross reference the same or different books to know how to run your monster in the moment or jot down plenty of notes before the session. Before we go into character builds and abilities, there is one aspect of character creation that stands out. Your Symbaroum character will have an individual goal, and the party will come together to form a group goal. I cannot overemphasize how much this means when you are a game master trying to make a unique and meaningful campaign for your players. This one note efficiently establishes your character's role in the world and the stakes in the game. Symbaroum's open character builds are very different from the class-based system of D&D. While one is not necessarily better than the other, I'm marking this approach as a pro for Symbaroum because of how refreshing most, if not all, of my players have found it. If you favor having a set list of class abilities, then Symbaroum has you covered with the profession prestige classes that have the added feature of being tied to the game's lore. The races are well laid out and explained without leaning too far into essentialism, and the boons and burdens system included in the Advanced Player's Guide adds something simple and special to each character. However, particularly if you are using the expanded options of the Advanced Player's Guide, Symbaroum's a la carte menu of abilities, mystical powers, and rituals can cause a significant amount of analysis paralysis for first time players. As per usual, there are also balance differences between the most powerful and the least powerful of these abilities, making experience traps and overpowered combos on your various character builds. I happen to think that these balance differences are far less pronounced than in D&D, and so-called overpowered characters can still be easily outmatched by mighty monsters and bad rolls, but it is a factor. There is still a martial caster divide in Symbaroum, but I think it swings the other way. While you are open to select whatever combination of abilities and mystical powers for your character, characters will still fall vaguely into the four archetypes of warriors, hunters, rogues, and mystics. Warriors and hunters are varied in their expression and quite powerful while not being limited on per use abilities, while mystics will find themselves very limited in how many spells they can cast as well as what types of spells they build into. Rogues draw the short straw by not boasting particularly strong damage while also not having abilities lending themselves to the strong skill expression they find in D&D. All mystic characters have to deal with corruption. As a flavorful element of world building, corruption is great. Magic is dangerous, and attempting to cast mystical powers brings you closer to danger and closer to becoming a mindless abomination, and all of this ties into the mystery of Davokar becoming more corrupted. As a mechanic, I'm going to go out on a limb and count it as a con. The rules for rolling and contracting corruption are neither intuitive nor forgiving, and all of my games have featured feels bad moments for mystics trying and failing to have a good time with their magical characters. There's lots of talk for house rules fixes for this, and I may have to incorporate some of these as I move forward with the system. Finally, let's do a grab bag of minor extras. Symbaroum's artifacts are effectively powerful and valuable while playing around with the mechanics and corruption, making for suitable MacGuffins and power ups. In general, the rules around weapons and alchemy provide efficiency in both flavor and mechanics, no matter what kind of sword or smoke bomb you want your character to wield. Symbaroum offers guidance on running alternate characters across different locations or even different timelines, something I've had a lot of fun with in real games but have never seen an RPG book really tackle. Symbaroum could really use a short rest rule between scenes, and I find the variant rules requiring players to spend experience points for rerolls and added effects a little bloated and hard to implement. And while I think the game shines in its emphasis on faction intrigue and personal goals, there is also an equal or greater emphasis on raiding ruins for treasure that I find very cliche and very boring. But If you like classic dungeon crawls more than new age narratives, you'll be happy to know that Symbaroum provides plenty of opportunities to kick down doors, kill monsters, and get loot. So, there's my 21 pros and 12 cons for Symbaroum. It's obvious that I personally like the game quite a bit, and I would recommend it to most people, though I do think there are some flaws that you should be aware of before you throw down your hard earned cash on a book or spend time learning the new system. While I think that the role playing hobby has something for everyone, Symbaroum isn't for everyone. But neither is D&D, and I appreciate you trying to broaden your tabletop horizons. Best of luck on whatever adventure you choose to follow next. Have a nat one day. Bye bye.